Hello, I'm Tom Garrett. I am co-founder and on-site property manager for the Cacao Farm in Nicaragua. I'll do a commercial for this amazing property and why you should visit at the end of the video here. But right now, I have to I take care of the guests. I'm in charge. I oversee all of our food production. We've got a cow pasture and pigs and chickens and food forest and a bunch of great stuff like that. And then the south 20 acres of our property is set aside for regrowing a native rainforest. And I'm also in charge of supervising the work there. That's what this video is about. And I'm going to explain what we're doing because it's pretty interesting and it's really fun. I mean, it's really fun to regrow a rainforest. I mean, come on. But the video needs a lot of explaining because it just looks, if you just watch the video by itself, we're just chopping down trees and it doesn't look like we're helping a forest or helping trees at all. Uh-oh. Okay. So, let's see. There's Herman and some helpers. Herman's our on-site farm manager, and then we have a couple of guys who come periodically to help us. We are walking. That's an Espavela tree. That is a Chaperno Negro tree. I'm walking on our trail. That's a larger Espavela tree, and right now so let me back up a little bit. So our region in Nicaragua was clear cut in the 1980s for wood. Then cattlemen came in and ran cattle on the land, so they kept the forest from regrowing. And the main business in our area is raising cattle for dairy or for meat. Our land was purchased in 2013, and we've been experimenting with ways to bring back the forest. It really, honestly, took us 7 years. It wasn't until 2020 where we really dialed in a process that is extremely efficient. And now that we've started it in 2020, it's going to take 8 years of our work to get the canopy going. And then after that, the forest is off on its own, requires no work, no maintenance whatsoever. But without our help in doing what we're going to be doing in this video, it takes hundreds of years for the rainforest to regrow um, on its own. And the reason is, in a natural environment, a rainforest has a evergreen canopy, which means trees at a very high level providing shade all year round. The canopy provides shade, so at the ground level there's a lot of shade. That's important because in the top 1 inch of the soil is a ton of bacteria and fungus and worms that are essential to turning dead wood and leaves into nutrients for the plants. They also aerate the soil so that the water can absorb deeper into the soil instead of running off and creating erosion. It soaks into the soil so that the roots, the down deep roots, can pull that up during the dry season. And because there is a long 4 or 5 month dry period. But if the soil is healthy, it's able to absorb the water and then supply it during the dry season. The canopy also protects, and so the sunlight, without a canopy, the sunlight hits the soil and kills the bacteria. So then there's no nutrient cycling, and then there's no aeration of the soil, so then the water hits and runs and leaves the property, does not go into the soil, and it steals a bunch of topsoil with it. And then the canopy also breaks the hard tropical rain. So it hits the canopy, and then the drops get smaller, and they trickle down, and they go down the side of the trees, and they get into the soil, and it's very gentle. So it doesn't disturb the soil structure and disturb the activity of the bacteria and the fungus. So canopy is essential to the rainforest, and when you don't have it, a lot of bad things happen. So they cut it, and what happens is the sun kills those bacteria in the soil. The rain compacts the soil into a hard surface so that the water hits and runs. It's not going into the soil. and exposes the ground to full sun. At that point, there are, we call them pioneer plants, and they're trees, bushes, vines. Pioneer means it's a plant that trades longevity for speed. So whereas the canopy trees, mahogany, teak, madronio, they will live for hundreds of years in an extremely difficult, harsh environment, very humid, full of bugs and bacteria and fungus all trying to eat it. These trees are very strong, and to survive for hundreds of years in this environment, in order to achieve wood that hard, they have to grow slow. So, in this really unnatural scenario where you've clear cut the canopy and you get full sun, the baby canopy trees grow and the pioneer trees grow, but the speed differential is so much that the pioneer trees and bushes and vines, they grow right above the baby canopy trees, and they go right over it, and they don't allow any sunlight for the canopy trees to grow. They block the trees so they can't get through, and they also just completely swamp it and knock it over. And I mean, it takes hundreds of years for the canopy to reassert itself after a clear cutting, because it's such an unnatural setup for the baby canopy tree. It's not prepared to succeed. So this is what we do. We go out, and so we bought the land. It was all cattle land. For years, this land has been untouched, about 6 or 7 years. So what's happened is the pioneer trees have grown quite large. They go about 20, 30 feet. Canopy is supposed to be at 100 feet, but they've grown up very quickly and established themselves, and provide a lot of shade and provide an impossible pathway for canopy trees to grow. What we do in this case, we go through looking for baby canopy trees. We will clear off the vines. We will clear off bushes that are over it, and we assess each baby canopy tree, because when they're super small, they like shade, they need shade, and as they get bigger, they need more sun. And then at around 6 to 8 feet, they need full sun, and they need space in order to grow all the way up. And so then we have to fully cut down all of the pioneer trees. What's tricky is that each canopy tree likes a different amount of sunlight at different times, and so we have to assess each tree. But basically, we go through, there's a team of us with machetes looking for baby canopy trees. When we find them, we clear about a meter circle. We assess how much sunlight it needs, and then we'll cut branches, and we'll cut other bushes to set it up. And we go through the land twice a year. From the year we start till about year 4, we have to go through twice a year, because the canopy trees and plants just are so fast growing and so aggressive. After about from year 4 to year 8, we go through once a year to just completely clear all of the vines and bushes and branches that are shading and blocking the canopy trees. After 8 years, the canopy trees now have open space to grow. They've got all the light they need, and we don't have to do anything. So our work is done. But at 8 years, a whole bunch of young canopy trees aren't providing very much shade, so it doesn't really feel like a forest. We're estimating that will take about 20 years. So from year 8 to year 18, another 10 years, another 12 years, they'll grow much taller, and they'll grow much wider, and the canopy will start to fill in. And at year 8, there's already less sun at the ground, and the canopy trees are high enough to where the pioneer trees can't overtake them. And then as you go up from year 8 to year 12 and 15 and 20, there's just more shade, and the trees are higher, and it just zaps the strength of the pioneers. And then there's a point, probably around year 15, there just isn't enough sunlight for the pioneer trees to grow, because they need so much direct sunlight, which they only get after a clear cutting. But then the canopy has reasserted itself. There's a lot of shade. The pioneer trees, they just die and fall over. They were already below the canopy, so they weren't a threat to the forest. They die with too much shade. They fall over, and all of the bugs and bacteria. They go to work, and it's amazing. You know, in these rainforests, within a year, 2 years tops, everything is gone. It's just turned back into soil, back into nutrients, and it's kind of crazy. So that's our process. And now there are times where, and this is what this video is about, the land has gone too far. The pioneer trees have provided too much shade for too long, and there are no canopy trees left, or very few. So what we have to do, because all of the canopy, there are lots of canopy tree seeds in the soil, but if there's too much, I'm just going to play the video. So anyways, we're walking out to this area. Oh, come on now. What is going on? So yeah, there are areas where there is too much shade. It was left too long, and when we're walking out to an area like that right now, and it's pretty thick, you can see. So here we are. This is a perfect example of land that 8 years ago was cattle land, open pasture, and these are all pioneer trees right here and here and here. They aren't going to grow any taller than they are right now. They drop their leaves in the summer, so they can't provide proper canopy. They die very quickly, and they just cannot provide the habitat and the ecosystem that the forest requires. But they provide so much shade at the ground level here in this area that that's just moss and just a little bit of grass. Considering we're in the tropics, you'd expect a lot more growth. And so they're providing a ton of shade. And we've been through this area. There are just 1 or 2 canopy trees, nothing else. And so what we have to do is clear cut the whole thing. And you'll see as we go through and clear this land, a ton of sunlight starts coming in. And that sunlight is going to hit the soil. It'll warm up the ground, and all the canopy tree seeds will then start to grow. And then we start off the process I described before, where once they start to grow, there's going to be a ton of, and you can already see here, the sunlight just starts coming in. It's just going to get brighter and brighter, but you can see, like right here, we're getting sunlight. Back here, the sun's coming in, and as the video goes on, it's just more and more, boom, sunlight, sunlight. So we'll come back in 6 months, and we'll have a bunch of baby canopy trees, about 2 feet tall, and we'll have a bunch of weeds and brush and vines that are like 4 feet tall. And we'll have to go through and start our whole process over again, where we look for the canopy trees, we clear around them, and we'll do that twice a year until they're 4 years old. Then we do it once a year till they're 8, and then we're done. So this is day 1. Boom, we just clear cut all of the pioneer trees, and you can see how much sun is now hitting the ground. In 6 months, when the rainy season comes back, we're going to have a ton of canopy tree babies sprouting, and then they would be overtaken, and they would be destroyed within a couple years. But we'll be going every 6 months to make sure they make it through. And so here we are, just taking the machetes out and cutting the brush. We use a chainsaw to cut the thicker trees. This is just palm trees in the jungle are hardcore. They are covered in these spikes, and they are so evil because the spikes are insanely sharp. They can go through a boot into your skin, just straight in, but then they're very brittle and they'll break, and digging them out is not fun. So you got to be very, very careful to not get those guys. This is we're just taking a break. It's really hard work. I mean, you can't feel the humidity through the video, but it's so hot and so humid. It's just like, it just saps your energy. I still can't even tell. My shirt is soaking wet. If that's sweat or just water from the air. But you can see here again, this is land that we're going to be clearing next. But these trees right here and these trees right here are providing a ton of shade. So much shade that no more canopy tree seeds are sprouting and growing. And they're not capable, these trees are not capable of establishing a forest. Um, and so we go through, and our process is we're going to have to cut them all. The sunlight hitting the ground will allow the new baby canopy trees plus a ton of pioneer bushes and trees to start growing. But then if we come back every 6 months and clear for the canopy trees, they won't be messed up. They'll thrive by getting more sunlight and having space. And as I said, after 4 years, we only have to clear once a year. After 8 years, we're done, and they're off up to about 100 feet where they will establish their full evergreen canopy over the land. And then the land will be this shaded. After the forest is done, it'll be this shaded all year round. But the canopy is much higher, and it's comprised of trees that don't drop their leaves in the summer, which is essential for the health of the whole ecosystem. And those trees are capable of living for hundreds of years, and so it creates a much more stable environment. So what else? Drinking water. Here we go. That's a pioneer bush. I'm gonna go and chop these trees right here. This is I guess it's a pioneer bush. It grows about that tall, 20 feet tall. But it's got to go down to make room for the canopy trees. This was just some work we did earlier that morning, and I just thought the clouds were super cool. The time lapse captures that. We're just clearing. This is an area closer to the main building. We've done clearing before, so you can't really see, but there are like these little sticks right here and right here and right here. That's all mahogany, cedar, tropical cedar, roble, like just really good, really powerful canopy trees. But right now it looks like nothing. So anyways, we've cleared. They're ready to grow. They've got full sun, but the grass grows so tall. I mean, the grass and the bushes would overtake these guys in a year. So we have to go through and cut the grass. It takes a little longer for the bushes and the pioneer trees to grow. So we're just dealing with basically the grass at this point. We'll cut it twice a year for right now. Then as these canopy trees get up to about here, the grass won't be able to reach it, and then they'll start providing more shade, and then we won't have to do much work. But as of right now, we got to keep on chopping so the canopy trees can make it. Okay, this is great. This is a madronio. This is our best canopy tree, the strongest, most robust canopy tree in our region. And you can see he's just screwed. He's under a bush. He's not going anywhere. He cannot get through that. He'd die. So this is kind of a time lapse. I mean, it takes two guys a couple of minutes, but they chop away. These are all trees that drop their leaves in the summer and don't grow very tall and don't live very long, but they are successful at completely stopping the canopy tree from growing. So we clear it, and boom, that guy's got all the sun and space he needs to grow. This is an older madronio tree that's probably like 10 years old. So he's got no risk of problems from the pioneer trees or bushes or anything. This guy, he's made it. And he's going to grow a lot taller. He's still a young canopy tree, but he doesn't need any more help from us. He's all good. And you can see that redwood. It's super beautiful and incredibly hard. I think madronio is like the third hardest wood in the world. And really dark shade, super tall. Just one of our best trees that'll make up the future of the forest here. This is the video on its own has music, and it's just, I thought it would be bizarre to see. We're talking about reforesting, and all the videos of us chopping, so I figured I had to explain it. And all kinds of interesting insects in the jungle, like unlimited amounts. And I found this guy. He's kind of cool. I guess it doesn't really show it from here, but when he stops moving, he's so adapted to this tree, you you can't see him. I mean, it's very impressive evolutionarily to see how amazingly adapted some of these insects are. And there's butterflies that will fly and land on the tree, and their spots and their colors match it perfectly. So, anyways, that's that. And you can end the video now. Otherwise, I got my Cacao Farm commercial, which is, here's the thing. If you go see some of our other videos, I'm going to be making videos about the luxury accommodations and the building and all that. But what's so special about visiting this place is if you can get there for 4 weeks to 8 weeks, like 1 or 2 months, and come with your family or just work from the farm. We sell at a very cheap rate time, and time is the absolute most valuable resource in the world. So when you live and you work from our property, you have internet, you can work and do everything. But what's special is that you don't spend any time driving. We have 3 meals a day prepared, mostly from farm food. The bell rings 3 times a day, and there's food, and then you can go into the kitchen and ask for a snack or tea or whatever you want anytime. So you don't have to drive to work because the office is on site. You don't have to drive to the grocery store. You don't have to lug the groceries in from the car. You don't have to cook. You don't have to do the dishes. You don't have to do laundry. Laundry and cleaning of the rooms is done every day. And we have nannies on site trained by Rosalind Ross, who's like this amazing expert in childcare. So with that, and our internet is good and fast in the office. It doesn't really reach very far outside of the office, and it does not reach into the rooms. And so you just can't sit in your room on social media. It's not really possible. You can do social media and watch TV in the office, but what's special is that it's not there. It's not easily accessible around most of the property. So the time you would have spent on social media, plus driving and cooking and cleaning and all that, it's now yours to spend and invest how you want. And we see people invest it in their business, and they tackle projects that they don't have time to do back home. And so their productivity goes up, and it's good for their business or their career. We see people come and invest that extra time into their body. So they stretch and do yoga and do exercise, go on walks and jogs, and take care of their body in ways that they don't have time to do back home. Or they invest it in their family relationships or their friends, relationship with their friends. And so the people they travel with, they have more time in a quiet and focused environment to just be present and connect and catch up and invest in those relationships. And so the time it's the number one resource in the world. It's extremely scarce. You can't make any more of it unless you come to the Cacao Farm and do a live, work, stay for a month or 2. At that point, we are creating more time, and it's so valuable and so rewarding for people to benefit from. We're really happy to be able to offer that. My family lives here, and it's a pretty awesome lifestyle. We really enjoy hosting other people and letting them enjoy it and benefit from how life-changing it is to be kind of unplugged from the world and yet more productive than you've ever been in your whole life. So I will be working on more videos to show what it's like to be a visitor here. In the meantime, feel free to call or email me if you have any questions about visiting or learning more about visiting. And thank you so much. I will see you later.